It is Thursday, October 2nd, and Democrats handing President Trump the most generous gift ever: new, unprecedented authority to slash and burn waste, fraud, and abuse. Deliver on one of his biggest campaign promises. The president beginning mass layoffs inside the federal government today. Not temporary furloughs, but real permanent layoffs. Which departments, which agencies, which programs? We're going to show you.
To undocumented immigrants, even though it's against the law for them to get these benefits. I know there's some debate about law-free president.
Do you think that illegal aliens should receive Medicaid benefits? Medicaid benefits that go to the most vulnerable people.
I didn't ask about benefits, and that's a debate.
Medicaid benefits that were designed to help low-income families and Americans in our country.
But they can't receive them.
So what the Biden administration did, Gabe, is they allowed tens of millions of illegal aliens from all over the world
parole and temporary
to come
protected
into our
status.
country. Yes, and they paroled them into the system. And you cover immigration, and you know well, it was a complete abuse of our immigration system.
But my question
and they
isn't
slapped a Band-Aid on these illegals. They called it temporary protective status, and then they allowed those illegals from all over the world to get free benefits. And you know who would like free benefits?
I understand that point,
Hardworking Americans who work their butts off every day, who are living paycheck to paycheck because of the Biden-induced inflation crisis.
Democrats voting for a full-blown government shutdown, inadvertently giving the Trump administration this unprecedented opportunity to revive Doge-style efforts to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, to cut the bloat out of our federal government. All of it largely enacted, these programs, all the bloat enacted by previous Democrat administrations. President Trump meeting with Russ Vought this morning to review which of these Democrat agencies should be cut first. How many of these Dem agency employees should be laid off? Should the firings be permanent? Should they be temporary? All questions that were asked and answered this morning. President Trump posting bright and early around 5 a.m. I have a meeting today with Russ Vought. He's of Project 2025 fame to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. Democrats now stuck in this lose-lose situation, refuse to fund the government, which lets Trump go to town slashing and burning the federal government and legally clawing back funding to Democrat states and agencies. We don't have the money anymore. Russ Vought has no other option. He's legally obliged to do this, to try to save money, or Dems can cave and vote to reopen the government, which will enrage the radical side of their base and will be the end of Chuck Schumer. It's now a matter of days, though, maybe even hours, before they realize how large of a miscalculation this shutdown actually was. First comes Democrat state funding, which has already begun. We're going to look at that. Then we're hearing the NGO space is next. Then comes the agencies in government, many of which Republicans have long believed should just not even exist, be completely defunded, like the Department of Education, the EPA, and others. The crux of this shutdown coming down to Democrats refusing to fund the government unless Republicans agree to repeal a portion of Trump's BBB, his big beautiful bill that closed a loophole. Realize what they want to reverse, a loophole that Republicans closed in Trump's bill that makes it impossible for federal tax dollars to pay for illegal alien health care. Republicans said, okay, you want to shut down the government over that, shut it down. See what happens. And look, like all shutdowns, it comes down to messaging. The victor of a shutdown always wins the messaging war. And right now, Democrats are losing that fight bigly because they're lying about this, and everyone knows it. When your party leader is called out on CNN of all places, you know you're on the losing side. Watch what happened.
Donald Trump blessed it as well.
So let me ask you about a provision that the Republicans are talking about quite a bit. I know you want to talk about, and Democrats want to talk about, extending the Obamacare subsidies, which expire at the end of 2025. But they talk about the provisions, and it's right here, subtitle E, and this has to do with the repeal of healthcare subtitle changes, and specifically what it is. How they characterize it is you want to give health insurance to undocumented immigrants. I understand that's not really an accurate depiction, but what it does do is...
It's a lie.
It's a lie, but what you support does bring back funding for emergency Medicaid to hospitals, some of which does pay for undocumented immigrants and people who don't have health insurance. And also there is this provision, and it's not about undocumented immigrants, it's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, but about their ability to get Medicaid. So they're non-citizens, they're not undocumented, they're not illegal. Why even include that in a bill, knowing that they're going to seize right upon that and use that to message? I understand.
What's so odd about this is for years, Democrats publicly argued for putting illegals on Medicaid. They campaigned on it. They promised that they'd do it, yet for some odd reason, now they're lying about it, claiming we never said that. Not one Democrat has ever said we want to put illegal aliens on Medicaid. Really?
I haven't heard anybody in my party saying that illegal immigrants should get access to the health insurance marketplace.
I'm so glad you said that. Actually, I have some tape of your Democratic Party members saying this on the debate stage. So they've all said it. Let's play the clip.
A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants. Okay.
Senator, that's literally every member of your party, from moderate to more progressive, that have said that in the past.
Democrats handing the president a generous gift. They not only look foolish trying to add another $1.5 trillion to the national debt to pay for illegal alien health care, but they've opened the door for the president to fulfill one of his core campaign promises, cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, finishing what Doge started.
As you know, no country can afford to pay for illegal immigration health care for everybody that comes into the country, and that's what they're insisting. And obviously I have an obligation to not accept that. That would affect everybody. You know, when I see what we're doing with AI and all the plants that are opening up in the country, $17 trillion is coming. And if you compare that to Biden had, in 4 years, less than $1 trillion. We have 17 trillion, more than that. I think it's going to be much more than that, David, by the end of this year. I think it's going to be far over that. It's a record. It's already a record in 8 months. It's a record by a lot. And so we're doing well as a country, so the last thing we want to do is shut it down. But a lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things, but they want open borders. They want men playing in women's sports. They want transgender for everybody. They never stop. They don't learn. We won an election in a landslide. They just don't learn. So we have no choice. I have to do that for the country. Yes.
Realize all of this coming down to a few states who decided to milk the system. Blue sanctuary states who were allowing illegals to enroll in their state Medicaid programs, like California. The problem, those state programs are subsidized by the federal government, or at least were subsidized. So regardless where you live, Tennessee, Texas, Montana, Florida, you are paying for Gavin Newsom's state Medi-Cal system that for 3 years has been providing unlimited free health care to illegal aliens. Until July 4th, until 2 months ago, all of that ended when Trump's big, beautiful bill was signed into law. What was the effect of the BBB? Well, watch what Gavin Newsom was forced to do. Watch how he explains what happened, forced to change after no longer having the feds pay for his state's deficit. Watch.
A campaign on universal health care. We're delivering that. We are implementing our ideals. We are manifesting this principle, this fundamental notion that so many of us have been preaching for years and years and years. Universal health care for all, regardless of pre-existing condition, regardless of the ability to pay, and regardless of your immigration status. If you care not just about values and principles of morality, but if your only values and principles are advanced through economics, then that alone should be an argument in favor of universal health care, a pathway and a framework for 1.1 million undocumented residents in the state of California to avail themselves to high quality, comprehensive medical care, long-term, short-term, preventative, as well as in-home support service care and coverage.
Now, Newsom says California is facing a $12 billion deficit. Governor is proposing freezing enrollment in state-funded health care for undocumented immigrants.
You know, when the program started, it was supposed to cost about $3 billion a year, and that ballooned to $11 billion last year. So the governor is freezing new entries into it and making those, or asking those people who are already in it to pay. Take a look.
We are moving forward with making decisions that not only address the concerns this year related to the $11.9 billion, but mindful that we need to tighten things up. We believe that people should have some skin in the game as it relates to contributions. So we are looking to a monthly premium. We are asking for something we ask all taxpayers of California.
So the government shut down, day 2 of this shutdown, and Trump isn't budging at all, using his new executive authority to slash this bloated federal bureaucracy, something he's wanted to do, planned on doing since his election, something he campaigned on doing. But these radical left judges blocked many of these cuts, these DOJ cuts, until now. Democrats just gave him that authority. Yesterday, the Trump administration began cutting, starting with Democrat-run states, freezing $18 billion in federal funding to New York City infrastructure, citing DEI. Russ Vought posting on X, roughly $18 billion in New York City infrastructure projects have been put on hold to ensure funding is not flowing based on unconstitutional DEI principles. More info about this to come soon. This means Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries' signature infrastructure spending on this new Hudson Tunnel project and the 2nd Avenue subway both now shut down. New York Governor Kathy Hochul and her fellow Democrats in the state of New York furious about this, furious at Chuck Schumer, furious at Hakeem Jeffries. This is a power move. It demonstrates how much more power Trump has, unilateral power he now has during this shutdown to slash and burn spending that funds the Dem Party machine. This is hurting Democrats more than anyone else. Trump writing on Truth Social last night, Republicans must use this opportunity of Democrat forced closure to clear out dead wood, waste, and fraud. Billions of dollars can be saved. Russ Vought announcing more Dem programs he's now canceled, writing nearly $8 billion in green new scam funding to fuel the left's climate agenda is being canceled. More info to come from the Energy Department. The projects are in the following states: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington. What do you notice about those list of states? All Democrat states, Democrat wish list programs for their climate agenda. All of that now canceled, and canceled permanently. Thank you, Russ Vought. Let's see just how much longer Dems can hold out. I don't think they have much more in them. Let me know what you think. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.